Hi everyone. Today we're talking about the idea of slope. We're going to be talking about slope in a few different ways and in a few different representations. We're going to be looking at tables of values. We're also going to be looking at points, and we're going to be looking at graphs. But all of those are the same idea. Okay, so let's get started. Slope is defined as the rate of change of a function, meaning how it changes. So that means it's going to be the change in y divided by the change in x. So the change in y divided by the change in x is equal to the slope. So as a visual representation, remember the y-axis is up here, and this is the x-axis. So we're going to look at the change in y, meaning how much it grows. In this case, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over the change in x. So that's a positive 5. And this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This would be over positive 7. So the slope in this case would be 5 over 7. Okay, but let's look at a few more examples. To find the slope from a table of values, find the difference in y values, find the difference in x, and divide the change in y by the change in x. Okay? Note, you want to make sure to keep track of positive and negative change. That's going to become a little bit more clear when we get into the examples. So here we go. We're going to do 9 different examples, so hang tight here. So these first 3 examples are going to be about tables of values. So these are what tables of values look like. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the difference in y. So here we go. 10 to 2. So I'm going to think to my head, I know that's subtracting 8. And then from 1 to 3, I know that's adding 2. So I'm going to take the change, that's what this little triangle means, the change in y divided by the change in x. So the change in y was negative 8, and the change in x was positive 2, which is equal to negative 4. So my slope is equal to negative 4. Now you might be wondering, what about these bottom 2 numbers? So let's check that out. From 2 to negative 14, you should know is negative 16. From 3 to 7, that's adding 4. So again, I'm going to do the same idea. I'm going to divide negative 16 by positive 4. What does that give me? Negative 4. So again, I find that my slope is equal to negative 4. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and erase this so we can do example 2. Okay, here's example 2. Example 2, same idea. I'm going to find the change in y. So 11 to 5, I count backwards, so I know I'm subtracting 6. From negative 2 to 0, that's adding 2. Now if you weren't sure, it's because we're starting at negative 2 here on the number line. To get to 0, I need to move to the right twice, meaning it's positive 2. So now I'm going to take negative 6, divide by positive 2, and that's going to give me negative 3. Same idea here. If you check this, 5 to 2 is subtracting 3, 0 to 1 is adding 1, and negative 3 divided by positive 1 is negative 3. So we confirmed our answer is negative 3 for the slope. Let's go ahead and look at example 3. For the third example, I'm going to go from 2 to 6. So positive 2 to positive 6, meaning I'm adding 4. From negative 5 to negative 3, again I'm going less negative, meaning I'm going to be adding 2. So positive 4 divided by positive 2, positive divided by positive is a positive number. Positive 2 is my slope. Again, you can double check. This is adding 6. This is adding 3. And 6 divided by 3 is also 2, so I can confirm my slope is 2. So again, you find the change in the y and then the change in the x, and divide them. So change in y divided by change in x. A different way of saying that is rise over run, meaning how you're going up or down over how you're going left or right. Let's move forward. So the next part, we're going to be looking at points. But the same idea is going to apply, and we're actually going to use a strategy where we're going to create a table. So it says find the slope of the line between the points 0, 7, and 4, 6. Now remember, all of these go x comma y, x comma y. So what I'm actually going to do is make a little table over here, x, y. Just place them in here. So 0, 7, that's this point right here. And then 4, 6. This looks really similar to all those other examples that we were just doing. So 7 to 6, that's subtracting 1. 0 to 4, that's adding 4. So again, I'm going to go change in y over change in x, so that's negative 1 divided by 4. You should know that this actually does not divide, so I can just leave it as that fraction. I'm going to leave it as negative 1 over 4, so negative 1/4. Same idea. Example 2, find the slope of the line between the points negative 1, 3 and 4, 13. I'm going to use the same strategy of creating a table of values. So x, y, negative 1, positive 3, positive 4, positive 13. Now I find the change. 3 to 13, I'm adding 10. Negative 1 to positive 4, I'm adding 5. If you're still having trouble with this, you want to come and see me. So negative 1 to positive 4, that's adding 5. So now I take the change in y divided by the change in x. The change in y is on the right, so positive 10 divided by positive 5, and that is positive 2. So my slope is 2. Okay, and let's do this last example. I'm going to erase what I have so far so I have a little bit more space. Okay, here's the last example of this type. Find the slope of the line between the points negative 4, negative 5, and negative 1, negative 8. So I'm going to go ahead and make my table. Negative 4, negative 5, and negative 1, negative 8. So I find the change. Negative 5, I'm moving to the left. Negative 6, negative 7, negative 8. So that's negative 3 spaces. This one is actually going less negative, meaning it's going to the right. So negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. This one is adding 3. So then I'm going to say it's the change in y, which is over here, over the change in x. So negative 3 divided by positive 3. Negative divided by a positive is a negative, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So the slope is equal to negative 1. Okay, and here we come to the last representation, which is to make a graph, or to look at a graph and find the slope from a graph. We're going to use the same ideas that we've been doing. I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. One way that you can do this is just find points that are perfectly intersecting the graph. So right here, right here, right here. Okay? This one would not work because it's kind of in the middle and we don't know exactly where it is. Okay, so then I can just make a table based on those points. I know this one in the middle right here is 0, 0. I know this one right here is positive 1, positive 2. Then I know that this one right here is 2, 4. So then again, I can just find the change. 0 to 2 is adding 2. 0 to 1 is adding 1. So I go 2 divided by 1, the change in y, divided by change in x. And 2 divided by 1 is positive 2. That's one way I can do that. The other way is that I can just start from one of these points and see how I get to the next one. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to see how I can get to this point. So I'm going to move with my y-axis first. So up 2, so that's adding 2, and this one is adding 1. So again, same idea, the change in y is right here, the change in x is right here. So I'm going to go 2 divided by 1, Same answer, it is still positive 2. Okay, let's try the next one. So I'm going to use both strategies again. I see a point right here, and I see a perfect point right here. So I'm going to go ahead and make a table, x, y. I'm going to label these points. This first one is 0, 4, so 0, 4. And this one is 2, 1, so 2, 1. From 4 to 1, I'm subtracting 3. From 0 to 2, I'm adding 2. So I'm going to go the change in y over change in x, which is negative 3 divided by 2. That fraction doesn't reduce, so I'm going to leave it as negative 3 halves. The other way I could have done this is gone from this point to this point, which would require me to go down 3 over to the right 2. So that's negative 3 over positive 2, same answer. Okay, and here's the final example. Same idea, I'm going to find where it perfectly crosses. I see one perfect cross here, and I don't see one here, I'll see one over here. So, I'm going to start off with the other strategy first. I'm going down 3 from this point, and then I'm going to the right 4 spaces. So, I'm going to go my change in y over change in x, my rise over run, so negative 3 divided by 4. Again, I'm just left with this fraction. Now if I want to use the other strategy, I can use these points again. These points are 0, 0, right in the middle, and then 4, comma, negative 3. This is 4, negative 3 over here. Now find this is going down 3 spaces, and this is going up 4 spaces. So again, the change in y over the change in x, so negative 3 divided by 4. Look at that, it's my same answer. Let me know if you have any questions. I know this is a long video, but it should cover everything that should be on the quiz. Thank you.